Hello everyone, Pallytime here, and we are taking a look at the first dungeon or instance that you come to in Rift if you are playing as a Guardian. It's called the Realm of the Fae, and this is actually the first boss. I actually don't have enough time to show as much as I wanted to here, so we have to go ahead to the first boss right away. And now there are 3 ads, 2 of which are channeling to the main boss. And as you can see, we have marked 1, 2, and 3, 1 being the first kill, 3 being the last. And the ad on the right is a healing ad. From what I understand, the ad on the left is channeling some type of ability that I don't really know too much about. But once you kill the first 2 ads, the boss becomes available to kill. And I mean, pretty easy fight all in all. If you can kill that first ad, you can finish up the rest of the fight. That's definitely the hardest part. So I want to talk a little bit about this dungeon while I have a second. Basically, it is made for level 17 and up. We actually brought in a level 16, and we had a healer as high as level 21. Myself, I am a level 19 Elementalist Warlock. A little bit of a peculiar combination, but I'm just trying out the different types of class combinations that are offered to me. Oh, also there's a polymorph on this fight. I totally forgot about that. If they polymorph the healer during this fight, that can definitely be a problem, so you want to make sure that you CC that, or dispel that if at all possible, if your current spec allows for that. But about this instance, it is all about the different types of seasons, and this area will be fighting one type of mob, and this is the spring area. And very shortly we'll move into the summer area. And you can see the colors change on the ground and on the leaves and in the trees. There's just very nice transitions all throughout. Eventually you go to the fall and you end up at the top of a mountain peak. And here I'm showing you the map, really detailing what I'm talking about a little bit more. You end up at the top of the map in just a blizzard, and you definitely want to stick around to see what that blizzard looks like, because it's kind of incredible. Okay, here we are moving into the summer part. Now my group makeup, as I said, we have a level 21 cleric of some kind. I did not ask him what his current spec was. We have a Stormcaller for our other mage. We have a Nightblade for our rogue DPS, and our warrior is, I believe, a paladin of some kind. Not totally sure about that. And as you're moving into this area, you stop fighting things like treants and fairies and move on to these like pond creatures and these like lizard men that live in these small little towns, small little huts, as you move through the summer part. And here you can see some of the huts, and when I was originally recording this, my audio wasn't working, so you're not getting my original commentary here. But I wanted to talk about how tight the pulls were here. Like very, very, very easy to actually pull additional mobs. And as I was talking about it, we actually pulled another ad. And I mean, it's certainly something you want to be careful with. If you have a CC, definitely the place to use it would be in this general area. The interesting thing about this game is no 2 classes are identical or have to be identical, so it really is a toss-up whenever you're going into these, what kind of DPS spells you're actually going to have, and if you're actually going to have any crowd control in your group at all. Kind of interesting at this point. This is the second boss. He's one of the pond creatures, and he's a pretty easy fight. Certainly nice to look at. Almost everything in this game is really nice to look at. And he throws some poison dots out on the party. Very, very easy to heal through. And he also throws down a like purple cloud of AoE damage that you want to move out of, but it didn't seem like it was that detrimental. In a few seconds I pan over to the right, and you can see that one of our party members is actually just standing in that and not taking very much damage at all. But overall, I'm really impressed with this dungeon. This is the first dungeon that you come to, and it's level 17. There you can see that AoE. It's the first dungeon that you come to, and it doesn't hold your hand like, let's say, what RFC does. And I'm speaking about WoW. comparing it to the low-level dungeons like RFC and let's say Wailing Caverns. There's no need to CC. The bosses don't really have mechanics. You can just burn them down. And granted, the mechanics thus far are pretty simplistic. They're still mechanics. We are now moving on to the Autumn Terrace, and I really like this part. You can see the colors in the leaves, and autumn is one of my favorite parts of the year. Sadly, in Florida, we don't get to see too much of that. We have a bunch of evergreen trees down here, so it's not very often that you actually see leaves change color, at least in my part of Florida. And in this area, you start fighting like these bugs, these flies, kind of reminiscent of moths, and then these part goat, part human. I know there's a specific name for them, I just cannot think of it off the top of my head. And this is the first boss, or the third boss, in the Autumn Terrace. And he has some interesting commentary.
Frosty fop has ruled our court too long. Now, where's that new keg?
Master, the mead is not coming. While you doze, these vandals butchered our best brewers and exterminated our prize vespids.
What? I would have you as guests, and you desecrate my mead garden?
Basically, they're like, hey, they're here to kill your boss. Oh, that's fine. Let's toast to his demise. And then his little assistant is like, but they killed the people who make the beer. And he just goes apeshit crazy and wants to kill you all of a sudden. This is another 3-ad fight, and we decided to kill the ad on the left, followed by the ad on the right, and then take down the boss, who is obviously the big one. And his mechanics are basically a giant knockback. He does it quite regularly, and it will interrupt your spells and stuff like that, so it's a little annoying. I didn't notice it being too hard. Of course, I'm not healing. I'm just sitting here mashing my buttons real hard. But I mean, I'm not going to say that voice acting was terrible or anything, but I thought it was funny. Definitely an interesting way to start this fight. And if you aren't able to tell yet, every time you fight a boss, it pretty much marks the end of that season. So after we killed this boss, we'll move on to the winter area. And I have to tell you, I cannot talk highly enough about that winter area. I guess I could talk more about this boss, but really he doesn't do too much from what I understand. He just kind of hits the tank pretty hard, really. I could see this being a problem for some healers if your tank isn't geared. Our tank was actually really geared and our healer was really good, so this is my second time running this. The first time I ran this I couldn't record because I had some people over talking, but we certainly had a lot more trouble my first time through here. But he is almost dead. I can see that transition coming up to the snow area, and I cannot wait to talk about it. It's so good. There, the boss dies. Drop some plate, I believe. Yeah, some plate. And we're just walking up the hill. Just walking up that hill right now. Oh, you can see the snow. And here we go. Look at that blizzard. Just completely cuts off how far you can see. Things will disappear in the fog. I mean, you'll just be walking forward and then all of a sudden a giant tree starts moving and it's trying to kill you. It's so good. Like, this is how Wrath of the Lich King should have looked for the entire game. All of Northrend should have been done like this. It would have made the game so much better. Like, you actually feel like you're at the peak, the pinnacle of a mountain, and you're just walking through, fighting the elements, and just being ambushed by these monsters because they just appear out of nowhere sometimes. The fog is thicker in some areas than it is in others, and this is a great example. You get to the top of the mountain and a portal just opens. If you're not expecting that, you go, what the fuck? This is actually a boss fight. The portal just opens and you fight a boss from each element and then move on to the last boss. And the last boss is actually a few few feet back at an altar, just kind of waiting on you. And you just come up here, not expecting anything, and the fight just starts. You hear, a rather deep sound, and a portal opens up. I mean, it's just so good. Can't praise this part of the level design enough. I really enjoyed it. One of my favorite parts of this game so far, and I've had some pretty epic moments in this game. But about this fight, you fight an element from each season. That was the autumn guy, just a little goat man dancing around with a flute, not too much to worry about. This part, you can't see him very well right now, but it's a fire spirit, and when you get him down to low enough, he basically splits in half, and then splits in half, and then calls in some embers. If you are an AoE class like myself, you definitely want to pace yourself, let your tank have enough time to pick up the thread on that, because I did kind of jump into things a little quickly, and pulled some aggro that I didn't necessarily need to pull. But I can't tell you how much. I mean, I wish I could have shown more of this part. Unfortunately, I only have a 15-minute upload cap on YouTube right now. Otherwise, I would have shown you the entire snow part. I mean, that's just how good it was. The first time I went through here, it was with a group that had also never been through here, and we were all just like blown away by it. If that's, getting old about me talking about it, I mean, I can stop. That's no problem. AoEing down those embers, as I was saying, and picking up a little bit of that AoE threat. It seems like, in my opinion, for classes, it's best to put a lot of points in one class at the beginning. At first, I was trying to divide my points up evenly, but I mean, you get things like AoEs and better cooldowns the more you progress up a tree. So it's been my tactic recently to just go all the way up a tree and try it out. And I'm trying out a lot of the different trees, namely Warlock, Necromancer, Pyromancer, and I just respect to Elementalist after this run just to try that out. I'm trying to see what fits my personality the most. And there we go. This is for the spring. You do get a little bit of time to drink in between each of these pulls, so if mana is an issue, it's not an issue for my class, but for that Stormcaster to my right, he went out of mana quite a bit. So in between each of these fights, you do have a couple seconds to sit down and drink. Warlocks, fortunately, are able to just life tap, or Elementalists are actually able to use up their charge or their energy, I forget what it's called, and just regain mana that way. And this tree summons some small flyads, and I gave the tank a second to get aggro on those, and then just started to AoE down at his feet, and it cleaned those up very quickly. Not a problem at all. And honestly, that tree died pretty fast, especially compared to the embers. And here we go, starting the real boss fight. She is very cool looking, from what I can tell. That fog is still a little strong. And her main effect is rapidly coming towards me. It is that tornado, dust cloud, green thing. I have no idea what it's called whatsoever, but it does damage if you stand in it. And it moves fairly slow, so there's really no reason to stand in it if you see it coming. You can move out of it quite easily. And that's her biggest boss mechanic. I'm not sure if it has a knockback. That would be hilarious if it had a knockback, because this part of the level is right over, I believe, the autumn part. So if it had a knockback, it could just kick you off the side and you'd be flopping around like across the zone. That'd be hilarious. But she is dying very quickly. I saved all of my cooldowns for this point, and I believe the other DPS did as well. And she will go down no problem. Very, very good group. And I mean, this is the first dungeon. I cannot wait to see more. I don't want to spoil any of the story. There's a guy about to pop up and do some weird stuff, so I'll try to cut this off pretty fast. Please do not forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. We'll be doing more of these videos. I'm really enjoying this game so far, and I hope you are enjoying the videos. So, thank you all for watching.